Hello there, welcome to the programme.
Coming up tonight, under pressure, how this West Yorkshire hospital is dealing with a surge in flu cases as resident doctors confirm they will go on strike.
In the firing line, calls for action as 8 in 10 bus drivers say they've been abused or attacked in the last year.
Meanwhile, it's all changed for Yorkshire's train passengers with the biggest timetable shake-up in years.
Leads in as many games.
But we start on the front line of our thinly stretched health services as emergency workers grapple with the impact of a virulent so-called super flu.
Well, it's sent the number of patients admitted to hospitals soaring, with staff saying it's a crisis among the worst they've ever witnessed.
And that was all before an announcement this afternoon that resident doctors, previously known as junior doctors, will walk out for a 5-day strike on Wednesday. The Prime Minister described the decision as frankly beyond belief.
Well, Katie Oscroft has spent the day at Calderdale Hospital and sent us this report.
Monday morning and this hospital is feeling the pressure. 48 patients inside here have flu so severe that some of them have to be helped to breathe.
This last couple of weeks has probably been amongst the most difficult and busy periods of time in the emergency department here that I've known in a long time. The strain of flu this year is particularly bad, so we're seeing a broad range of people, both elderly but also the very young, and it's really quite overwhelming in terms of the numbers that are coming through.
There aren't just people with flu here, but cases are at a record level for this time of year and account for more than 5% of the beds within the Calderdale and Huddersfield Trust.
People are presenting more unwell than what they have in previous years. So we're seeing a higher level of ambulance calls, patients presenting via ambulance and also patients self-presenting, which in turn does lead to our emergency departments being at capacity. What we do try and do is divert people to other healthcare providers where they're able to receive their care, maybe in a different environment.
Confirmation of industrial action by resident doctors came this afternoon. Plans already in place meant some outpatients' appointments have been cancelled to manage a workload already under strain.
How much more difficult is it during a strike for you to run these hospitals?
It is a challenge for us, and particularly in times when we have a surge like we have at the moment. But like I said, we do plan to have our most senior doctors particularly supporting our services on those days, and that's how we manage it on a day-to-day basis. We do put on additional staff where necessary, and we do expand into other areas. We've increased our bed base particularly, and we've also increased our same-day emergency care service, and that's helped us to manage through this increased pressure.
The figures tell the story of this winter. Last month, 17,000 patients came through the doors of Calderdale and Huddersfield's emergency departments. That's 1,000 more than this time last year, and it's not expected to ease off soon.
Come to emergency department if you need to come with an emergency, but if there's a chance you can go elsewhere to get the care, then please do.
This hospital says it is dealing with every patient who comes here and has a plan to carry through one of its most challenging times. Katie Oscroft, ITV News, Halifax.
Well, the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, will have hoped that strike action could have been averted today, and then came the news he didn't want to hear. Let's cross live now to our political correspondent, Fred Dimbleby. Fred, more problems tonight for the NHS.
Yeah, I think Katie's piece just there spelt out very clearly how difficult things are on the front lines right now, and tonight warnings that those difficulties are only going to get worse because, as she mentioned, resident doctors have voted to reject the government's latest offer, which means unless anything changes, they will be going on strike from Wednesday for 5 days. Now, the British Medical Association, the union that works for them, seems to be in somewhat of a stalemate with the government right now. The government pointing out those resident doctors have had a nearly 30% pay increase over the past 3 years. The BMA saying that they need a further uplift to get real fair pay. The British Medical Association tonight saying that it is still open to negotiate, but just have a listen to how furious the Health Secretary Wes Streeting is about these strikes going ahead.
The BMA have chosen to strike this week, not only to cause maximum impact and damage to the NHS, but choosing to do so at a time when there is the maximum risk to patients. I think that is irresponsible, and I think it's dangerous.
I am more than happy and prepared to meet the Secretary of State today or tomorrow to try and get towards a credible offer to call off this industrial action. It's not a decision that is final. It just needs the Secretary of State to come forward and work with us to get to an offer that fixes the jobs crisis for doctors at the moment and also addresses real terms pay erosion.
Well, what does this all mean for our region's hospitals? Well, they're already facing huge amounts of pressure that is only going to grow. There is still a chance that these get called off, but I think tonight that is looking less and less likely. Just from a political point of view, though, this is a government that came in promising to end this dispute, thinking that it could get on top of this issue. It is a dispute now that has gone on since 2023, and tonight it seems that we are no closer to an end and that this dispute may follow this government into next year.
Fred Dimbleby, thank you very much, live in Westminster tonight.
OK, let's move on with some more of the day's news. And 3 men accused of murdering an inmate at Wakefield Prison will go on trial next year after pleading not guilty. Kyle Bevan was found dead at the high security prison last month, where he was serving a life sentence for the murder of 2-year-old Lola James in Wales back in 2020. Lee Newell, who's 56, 45-year-old Mark Fellows and a third man who can't be named for legal reasons all entered not guilty pleas at Leeds Crown Court this morning. They will go on trial in June next year.
2 men have been arrested after 2 teenagers died when their car crashed into a tree in Rotherham. The driver, a 17-year-old girl, and her passenger, a 17-year-old boy, died at the scene on Todwick Road near Dinnington in the early hours of Saturday morning. A man remains fighting for his life in hospital. An 18-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving, and a 19-year-old on suspicion of perverting the course of justice.
Residents in Bradford had to be evacuated from a building that partially collapsed today. West Yorkshire Fire and Rescue Service were called to Dale Street in the city centre shortly after 6 o'clock this morning following reports of the collapse. There were no reports of anyone being injured. The council says it's now working to find temporary accommodation and to make the building safe again. The road remains closed until further notice.
Or next to the closure of a care home for adults with complex needs, which has been described as a death sentence by one family.
Yeah, Sherburn House in Knaresborough had been caring for 9 adults until its closure was announced in October, giving families just over 2 months to find alternative accommodation. Daniel Beardsley, who's 27, has now had to move an hour away, which his family says is totally unsuitable. Amelia Beckett reports.
This has been Daniel's home for 10 years. Born with a chromosomal abnormality, his parents were told he'd unlikely live past the age of 5. Now 27, they believe the support he's had here at Sherburn House has helped him thrive.
He's just proved everybody wrong in how he lives. We're told he's not going to walk, which he did when he was younger. Everything about him, he's just an absolute warrior, an absolute fighter. The staff there were absolutely amazing. We've spent 10 years working with these guys and just giving them life, meaning and just giving them love.
But despite being the only home that can provide such specialist care in this area, in October, bosses announced issues with recruiting staff as well as rising costs means it must close. And families were given until tomorrow to find alternative accommodation, moving Dan an hour from his parents.
We could potentially lose him without being by his side. And that's our biggest fear now. You know, he's lost his home, his friends. So we need him close to us to, if anything happens, we could be there within minutes.
Gavin and Rebecca say they should have been given much more notice for such a huge change to Daniel's care. But the trust which runs the house says they acted within the rules.
We have given the required notice that the local authorities expect from us. Regretfully, with a service such as this, that is only 3 months. And we worked with the local authorities to make sure we understood how we could do that safely, securely and well.
But moving into his new home today, Gavin and Rebecca felt only fear rather than reassurance.
Obviously, because Dan's non-verbal, he communicates in his own special particular way, and this is a skill that both Gav and I and the staff at Sherburn, we've really kind of worked together as a team. So to then go to somewhere where it might not even be picked up by somebody because they might either not be looking out for it or think it's irrelevant, it's the exact opposite.
The government says it's working hard to rebuild the social care sector after what it calls a decade of neglect. But for this family, the last decade has been the most secure for Daniel. It's the next 10 years that now fills them with worry. Amelia Beckett, ITV News, Knaresborough.
Well, still to come on calendar tonight. On thin ice, experts give us their do's and don'ts when it comes to winter motoring.
And after low pressure brings further spells of rain this week, there's a little Christmas gift from the weather department on the way for next week. It's looking drier for a change. I'll have all the details.
6 men and 1 woman have been arrested in connection with historic child sexual abuse in Bradford. Arrests on suspicion of rape and conspiracy to rape took place at addresses in Bradford, Bolton, Bridlington and Stoke. They're in relation to crimes in the Thorpe Edge area in the 1970s involving 1 woman who was 14 at the time. 6 men were interviewed with 5 bailed and 1 released under investigation. The woman, who's 68, was also bailed pending further inquiries.
The biggest rail timetable changes in more than a decade have come into force today on the East Coast Main Line. LNER has described the changes as transformational for passengers and the rail industry, with 10,000 more services a year and 60,000 extra seats available each week. It's hoped the changes will lead to more jobs and a boost to local economies.
The transformational timetable that we've introduced on the East Coast has been the culmination of over a decade's worth of work. That's by significant investment in both the infrastructure and significant investment in a new fleet of trains. And those 2 investments have enabled us to introduce this new timetable today. And we know that there is the demand there, and this timetable is really about freeing up capacity to satisfy that increase in demand on the East Coast Main Line.
Now, from the rail to the roads, and calls for our bus drivers to get better protection after 8 in 10 said that they had faced physical or verbal abuse in the last year.
Yes, one driver told ITV News that he wants a tax on transport workers to be made a specific criminal offence after describing what he and his colleagues face on an almost daily basis. Chloe Oliver has the story.
Onboard footage captures the moment a man bursts through the closed doors of a bus stopped at traffic lights. He hurls abuse at the driver and tries to reach into his driver's cab before pulling the bus doors open and escaping. It's a sight becoming more common for bus drivers like Barry. We've changed his voice and hidden his identity at his request.
I've had it when the bus fare increased and people weren't aware of that, and they're shouting at you, they're swearing at you, being very aggressive. And dealing with that situation, you're out there on your own driving that bus. I've had everything from being sworn at to threats of physical violence, and people actively trying to gain access to the cab area to commit acts of violence.
Many bus drivers didn't want to appear on camera, but have written down their experiences instead.
I was assaulted in my cab after questioning a person about a fare. After this, I received abuse. I was spat at and had a vape thrown at me.
Drivers are the first line of attack for passengers. Any frustration they have, we get it both barrels.
The abuse is terrible. I've been spat at 3 times by teenagers in the last 12 months.
Verbal abuse is a daily occurrence whilst driving a bus. It can range from basic insults of being told you are rubbish at your job, to personal insults, or to racial insults, or even to threats to your personal safety.
I can pretty much guarantee that almost every day I'll be at least sworn at for just doing my job.
And what do you think needs to happen to change that?
I think personally there should be a change in the law to make it a separate criminal offence, like for assaulting a retail worker. I think that should be extended to transport workers.
We get reports quite regularly of drivers being physically assaulted
or people trying to break into the driver's cab through the assault screens to attack them. People need to understand that there is a consequence for assaulting a transport worker and a bus driver. At the moment, there doesn't appear to be one, so it just perpetuates the misery that bus drivers have to go through on a daily basis.
In a statement, the Department for Transport said abuse of passengers and staff is unacceptable. Under the Bus Services Act, we're strengthening enforcement, giving local authorities and police the powers to crack down on antisocial behaviour. 8 in 10 bus drivers say they've experienced some form of abuse in the last year. Unions want to see better safeguarding measures to protect those bus drivers who help keep our communities connected. Chloe Oliver, ITV News.
OK, Mary Nightingale is here straight after calendars. The ITV Evening News continues. Here are the national and international headlines coming up at 6:30.
Coming up at 6:30, the terror attack on people celebrating the first night of the Jewish festival Hanukkah on Bondi Beach. There has been an outpouring of grief for the 15 people killed. 9 have been identified. A British-born father of 5 and a 10-year-old girl among them. Here, resident doctors have agreed to take strike action this week, walking out at 7 a.m. on Wednesday. And why houseplants could be next year's outdoor garden trend due to climate change. Would you join me for those stories and more at 6:30?
Certainly will, Mary. Thank you. Now, it might have been, well, a thoroughly miserable weather today, but there's one silver lining to all of that. No need to scrape the windscreen.
Yeah, that is true, actually. But those days are just around the corner, aren't they? So have you got any tips?
Well, usually I'd go for, a freezer bag, lukewarm water.
Would you?
Yeah, just get that over the windscreen, or just get the other half to do it.
Oh, right. I just get the de-icer out, I think.
Probably a better idea.
Yeah, it's definitely better than the boiling water method, though, which could be an expensive mistake. And Kevin Ashford has got some other ideas to avoid any possible car trouble.
It is a familiar sight for motorists at this time of year, freezing temperatures causing ice-covered windows. But if you think pouring hot water on the problem is a quick remedy, then think again, because it could be a costly mistake. You're likely to end up cracking the glass. It's just one of the errors that motorists can make when faced with an iced-up windscreen, according to the managing director of this garage in Doncaster.
Wiper blades. People turn the wiper blades on while they've still got frost on the windscreen, it tears the rubber off. That's the biggest one with that. If you've not got the correct screen washing, windscreen washers freeze up so they don't work, and then you can burn the motor out.
Experts say there are some simple steps to clearing an ice-covered vehicle.
Turn your car on and your blow heaters to your windscreen and just let it defrost slowly. But if you're in a little bit of a rush, we recommend plain old de-icer and some scraper, a bit of elbow grease in the morning. But to prevent that, we've got a few options. So one, what we say is another good one, is an old blanket. Put it over the windscreen and over the wipers, and then put it inside the door sill so it doesn't blow away. And the other one, which I actually think is an even better option, is a frost guard. So it's nice and light, goes across your windscreen and never scratches it. And you can just reset it, so take it off in the morning, dry it over the day, and then it's ready to go in the evening again.
One road safety charity says uncleared windows can have serious consequences.
If a driver sets off without de-icing or demisting their vehicle, then that could result in a fine of £100, which can increase depending on the severity of the situation. If the driver causes a fatal collision because they haven't been able to see up the road clearly, then they could be prosecuted for dangerous driving.
So clearing your vehicle's windows is vital to staying safe and legal. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
OK, time for some sport, and a warm welcome rather than a frosty reception for Chris.
Oh, that's very nice.
Oh, we've got the tree up for you especially.
It's looking lovely, isn't it? Did you guys put that up?
Oh,
Did you
yeah,
decorate
that's our
it?
handy.
No, I thought it was your job. You've done a good job though, Lara. It's looking
was the
well.
elves.
Very coordinated.
Well, there's a little festive gift for Leeds fans this weekend as well.
There was, Michael. Yeah, their resurgence continues, doesn't it? They might feel they deserve more than just the point they took from their trip to Brentford yesterday. Nevertheless, it's now 3 games unbeaten for the Whites in the Premier League.
Powering local sport in the community. Octopus Energy sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
Now, from the fans calling for the manager to be sacked to those same fans serenading their top scorer with a version of Wham's Last Christmas, it's been quite the turnaround in the last 3 weeks for Leeds United. They fell behind Calvert-Lewin after the game that this year, to save them from tears, they'll give him their hearts.
He's fantastic from the first day he walks in, not just on the pitch but also off the pitch. Great human being, great teammate, works his socks off. For me, one of the best English strikers that we have in the Premier League. We have Harry Kane and playing for Bayern Munich in Germany, but for me, Dominic, one of the best English strikers in this league, and we are pretty blessed that we have him, and he will be an important player also in going forward.
High praise indeed. Sheffield Wednesday round off the weekend action tonight when they welcome Derby to Hillsborough. They'll hope for a better performance than United, who went down 2-0 at West Brom on Friday. As for the best of the rest, it's now 3 straight wins for Bradford, who are second in League One. They beat Reading 2-0. Huddersfield fans turned on manager Lee Grant with chance of you getting sacked in the morning following the Terriers' 1-1 draw at home to Wigan. There was a real topsy-turvy game at Barnsley, who went ahead at home to Leyton Orient, then found themselves 2-1 down before 2 goals in 8 minutes late on swung the game back in Barnsley's favour. 3-2 the final score. No goals for either Mansfield or Rotherham, but there was a hatful in Doncaster's game at Cardiff. Harry Clifton looked to have earned Donny what would have been a great point when he made it 3-3, but in time added on, heartbreak for the travelling fans as Cardiff struck again. Chesterfield are back in the League Two playoff spots after a 3-1 home win over Barnet. There's the winner there. And Harrogate are out of the relegation zone after a penalty earned them a 1-1 draw at Cheltenham.
Right, that's your football. What about rugby league?
Yeah, some news for you concerning Featherstone Rovers, Lara. They've been placed into administration today. Now, the club were due to face a winding up petition last week over unpaid debts, but in a statement released this afternoon, Featherstone say that has now been dismissed. They also say a deadline has been set for this coming Friday for any parties interested in buying the club to deliver their submissions. OK, a community group that has helped hundreds of South Asian women access sports in Kirklees is celebrating its 10th anniversary. Over the years, Ready Steady Active is making a real difference to many women and girls who struggle to access sports due to a lack of provisions. Well, Halima Saeed has been to one class to find out more.
Pink team shooting in that direction, blue team shooting in the opposite direction. When you're ready, let's go!
For the women here, this is more than just a basketball session. It's a chance to get fit, make friends and build confidence in a safe space.
Well played, Pink!
Ready Steady Active was set up a decade ago by sport enthusiast Rashida Salou after her own struggles to access classes.
I felt like I just wanted to be able to play sport and be able to experience being part of a team. And that was the difficult bit because there wasn't any spaces for people that looked like me to be part of a team. I do feel that some of the barriers were internal. I felt like they came from the community itself. It came from the culture that I was from, but also myself, because maybe I didn't believe and didn't have the confidence to access some of those spaces. So a lot of the work that we do at Ready Steady Active is around kind of making those spaces feel safe, feel inclusive and feel welcoming for people of all backgrounds.
The hourly sessions are helping to open doors by bringing down barriers that have prevented South Asian women from playing sport for many years.
I think naturally for boys there's always been that ability to find a park and just play outside and go down to the field with their friends, and that sort of isn't always accessible for girls. There's always like a social stigma around women going out in the evening, and for us here this is a great opportunity to be able to do that.
Saba and her daughter Hiba have been coming since the beginning and are feeling the benefits.
It's a really good opportunity to get fit, and I think it's important because, like, you know, being a mum, being a role model for your child, to realise that as you get older, sport's not out of your, you know, as you get older, you still can play sports and still be active.
We have seen inactive women come in who now consider themselves as athletes and sports players. They play within our Ready Steady Active League, but also play in external leagues. We've actually empowered these women. We've also had people that have gone into roles within sport as well.
Like 23-year-old Safa Hussain, who is now aiming high thanks to the project.
It's definitely increased my confidence, and it's inspired me to get into coaching as well for younger girls.
10 years is obviously an incredible amount of time. So how proud are you of what you've achieved?
Incredibly proud. It's just amazing to see that the work that you've put in has made such a big impact to so many women and their families as well.
After helping hundreds of women find a position in sport, Rashida has no intention of calling time out anytime soon. Halima Saeed, ITV News, Dewsbury.
You had a quick glimpse of us there, but yeah, that's a really good scheme that, 10 years down. Congratulations to them for their 10 years. Here's to decades more, eh?
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
You're
right,
welcome.
here's Nick now with the weather.
Today's forecast: seafood and sugar cube towns. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello, it's been a soaker of a day, particularly across parts of North and West Yorkshire. There's more rain to come this week. So looking ahead to next week, let's cheer ourselves up with news of, well, something drier as high pressure builds in, so a change in the weather pattern. So it will promise something drier, developing next week and lasting into Christmas. Maybe a touch colder with a risk of frost and fog, but Christmas travel looks a little bit easier. Hold those questions about a white Christmas for now. We'll keep you updated on the day-to-day detail as we get closer. Today, though, it's all been about this area of rain, and if you stay dry across further east and south in the region, that rain is now moving its way towards you courtesy of this weather front. It does clear away though into tomorrow morning. Dry tomorrow, more rain though for Wednesday and indeed on Thursday before a drier day again on Friday, so really changeable for the remainder of the week. And here's the rain out there at the moment. It is difficult travelling with outbreaks of heavy rain, only slowly pushing eastwards, loosening its grip finally on North and West Yorkshire. Could be low single figures, maybe a touch of frost on the ground in the Dales overnight, and your sunrise tomorrow just after 8:15 in the morning, and your sunset at 3:45 in the afternoon. So any early rain tomorrow in the east will clear away. Then the bulk of the day is looking dry, broken clouds, sunny spells, a lighter breeze, feeling a touch cooler, but all in all looking like a lovely day tomorrow. And frost and fog possible tomorrow night. As it stays clear, temperatures will drop away quite quickly, but then during Wednesday the wind picks up. Here comes the rain, with further rain at times on Thursday before that dry day heading our way on Friday. That's your weather.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Right then, make the most of tomorrow weather-wise.
Yes, I'm ready for something a bit more frosty, a bit more festive.
Nice. Yeah, we're getting in the mood now for Christmas, aren't we? We've got the tree.
Yes, exactly. All ready for the... That's it. I'm back at 10:30. Bye-bye.
Bye.